Everyone may have a seat. We've called the state for the defense. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to get started trying this case. First thing that will happen is one of the assistant DAs, either General Hammonds or General McDermott, will read the indictment in this case. I want to remind each of you the indictment is more merely the form of written accusation. The fact that this document exists in no way impairs Ms. Hamilton's presumption of innocence. After the indictment is read, Mr. Whalen, on Ms. Hamilton's behalf, will enter a plea or pleas. Thereafter, each side will be recognized to give an opening statement. I'll talk to you just a few more minutes about that here in just a moment. General McDermott, you may read the indictment.
Case number 117659, State of Tennessee versus Robin Rebecca Howington. Sworn July 1st, 2022 by the foreperson of the grand jury. State of Tennessee, County of Knox, Criminal Court for Knox County, Tennessee. The grand jurors for the State of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Robin Rebecca Howington, on or about the 14th day of September 2019, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully kill D.O. during the perpetration of an aggravated child neglect in violation of TCA 3913-202 and against the peace and dignity of the State of Tennessee. Second count, the grand jurors for the State of Tennessee, upon their oaths, further present that Robin Rebecca Howington, on or about the 14th day of September 2019, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did knowingly neglect D.O., a child 8 years of age or less, so that the health and welfare of said D.O. was adversely affected and resulted in serious bodily injury in violation of TCA 3915-402 and against the peace and dignity of the State of Tennessee. Third count, the grand jurors for the State of Tennessee, upon their oaths, further present that Robin Rebecca Howington, on or about the 15th day of September 2019 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did knowingly neglect D.O., a child 8 years of age or less, in such a manner with a deadly weapon, so that the health and welfare of said D.O. were adversely affected in violation of TCA 3915-402 and against the peace and dignity of the State of Tennessee. Fourth count, the grand jurors for the State of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Robin Rebecca Howington, on or about the 14th day of September 2019 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully initiate a report to an officer of the Knoxville Police Department concerning an offense within the officer's concern, knowing that the information relating to the offense was false, in violation of TCA 3916-502 and against the peace and dignity of the State of Tennessee. Fifth count, the grand jurors for the State of Tennessee, upon their oaths, further present that Robin Rebecca Howington, on or about the 14th day of September 2019 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly conceal things with the intent to impair the availability of said things as evidence in an investigation, and said Robin Rebecca Howington, knowing that investigation was pending and in progress, in violation of TCA 3916-503 and against the peace and dignity of the State of Tennessee. Sixth and final count, the grand jurors for the State of Tennessee, upon their oaths, further present that Robin Rebecca Howington, on or about the 14th day of September 2019 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly attempt to alter things with the intent to impair the availability of said things as evidence in an investigation, and said Robin Rebecca Howington, knowing that an investigation was pending and in progress, in violation of TCA 3912-101 and 3916-503, and against the peace and dignity of the State of Tennessee.
On behalf of Ms. Howington, how does she plead?
Ms. Howington pleads not guilty to each and every count of the indictment.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the indictment has been read. A plea of not guilty has been entered as to each of the counts alleged within the indictment. The issues have been joined for trial. It is now time for each side to provide to you an opening statement. A couple things about opening statements. I want you to listen carefully what the lawyers say. They're going to give you an overview of where they believe the evidence will take you over the course of the next several days. But I want to remind you once again, what the lawyers say is not evidence. The evidence that you must base your verdict upon in this case must have come from this witness stand or from an exhibit introduced through the various witnesses who will testify. The state has the burden of proof. For that reason, you will always hear first from the state. General Ammons, you are recognized on behalf of the state for your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. September the 14th, 2019. Destiny Oliver, just 5 years old, along with her brother Gavin, just 2 years old, and her mother, Robin Howington, the defendant, in this case, went to a park. They would have played, they would have laughed, just like any kids, just like any family. And they would return home. What was different about this night was that was the last time Destiny Oliver would ever play in the park. That's what this case is about. That 5-year-old little girl, in life got far too short, and one person's deceit, lies, and deception to cover up their crime, the negligence. And a person's the defendant, Robin Howington. The evidence will show that on that evening, all three of them returned home to 502 Boston Avenue in Knox County. They returned home at approximately 8:42 in the evening. And about a minute later, you will see all three of them enter the house. So I'll tell you how we know how we're seeing them enter the house. At 508 Balsam Drive, the house next door had a home camera on the front porch. And that camera is situated angling towards 502 Balsam. So at the top of that screen, we can see the 502 Balsam property. And then in the top right corner, you see the front door of 502 Balsam. So that's how we know who's coming, going, the times. So if we play this video, and we begin at approximately 8:39, you'll see right here is going to be where the defendant's residence is. So the porch lights are not on now. You can see the camera's angled. And we believe this right here to be is a spider web. Remember you dim the lights, please?
Get one back to lights, but it's not all over this one thing. That's good.
Right there we have a vehicle arriving outside 502 Balsam, outside the defendant's residence. You'll see the lights are dim there, but not all the way off now. See another vehicle approaching 502 Balsam right there. He's going to back up. And that's the defendant, Destiny, and Gavin. You see the porch light just turn on there. That's 502 Balsam. We see a small individual, which is Destiny, entering the residence right now. Followed by the defendant carrying Gavin. Notice the car remains outside with the vehicle lights dimmed once Ms. Howington and Gavin and Destiny go inside 502 Balsam. Now we're at 8:44:26. In approximately 1 minute, you will see motion at the door to 502 Balsam. Right there. Movement at the front door, 502 Balsam, 8:46:05. In approximately 15 seconds, you'll see an individual walking from the direction of the vehicle towards 502 Balsam. Right here. And the individual is entering the residence approximately 8:46:43. The individual is going to be inside that house for approximately 63 seconds. And then we're going to see that same individual walk outside the house calmly to that vehicle. The individual is exiting the house now at 8:47:47 and walking towards the vehicle. Now at this point, the individuals remaining in that residence are Gavin, 2-year-old Gavin, 5-year-old Destiny, and Robin Hamilton, the defendant. In approximately 10 seconds, you're going to see the defendant exit the house and go towards her vehicle. Right there, you can see her right there. See the lights. Right there. The defendant's vehicle then moves up closer towards 508 Balsam. And then parks still outside of 502 Balsam, her own residence. The defendant will enter the house back again at 8:50:15. There, that's the defendant walking back in the house at approximately 8:50:15. Things are about to change. Because at 8:53, Robin Hamilton calls 911. That's what she says. Destiny's been shot, and a random black guy did it. That's what she says. You're going to hear that 911 call during this trial, and that's what she says. Destiny's been shot. It's a random black guy. Just walked in off the street and popped Destiny. That's what she told 911. But there's more going on during that 911 call than Robin Hamilton tells 911. And the reason we know that is because of 508 Balsam. Because that camera catches some other things going on. At 8:53:53, the defendant's going to exit that house and hide that gun under a bush. She's going to hide her gun, the gun that was used to shoot and kill Destiny, under that bush. She's right outside the house. All while she's on the call with 911. She's hiding her gun. Well, Destiny is bleeding out on the couch, alone. She is hiding the gun, while her daughter lies alone in that room. That's Destiny. And that's who this case is about. You're going to hear the first law enforcement officer that arrived on the scene didn't quite know what to expect. Had a shots fired call. Didn't quite know. So he approaches the residence with some caution. He's going to enter that residence and he encounters Miss Hamilton. Miss Hamilton's sitting on the couch and he sees a foot sticking out behind her. She's on the phone. She's not holding her daughter. She's on the phone. And he asks, has anyone been hurt? She doesn't say a word. She just turns and points. And that's when Officer Cummings realizes 5-year-old Destiny shot. He sees the wounds. We hear testimony that he was trained as an EMT. So he understood what was going on. And he scooped all 56 pounds of that little girl up. And he takes off running outside that house. And he's calling for help. You're going to see on that video at trial, you can see Officer Cummings running out of that house with that little girl in his arms. You're also going to hear at trial that law enforcement continue to respond to the scene. Detectives Riddle and Wardlow are going to arrive at the scene. They have a report that a 5-year-old girl has been shot dead in her house. It's a serious crime. You're going to hear that the defendant continued to say it is a random black guy when she speaks with Detective Riddle at 502 Boston. Destiny is going to be transported across the river to UT Medical Center. She has a gunshot wound in her hand and her chest. You're also going to hear testimony from the KPD officer that transports Robin Harrington to UT Medical Center. They got Destiny, they got her out of there as quick as they could, and they got her to UT to get help. Detective Riddle, he's just trying to get some idea of what's going on. Who did that? Who's the random black guy? He's got a 5-year-old girl that's been shot and killed. It's a random black guy. So as law enforcement continues responding to the scene, they're doing what they do. They process the scene. And Officer Preston Tucker is going to take the defendant Robin Harrington to UT Medical Center. But you're going to hear when she's in the back of that cruiser, her deception is continuing, her lies are continuing, her deceit is continuing. You're going to hear that she's texting multiple people to come get that gun. Not just the gun, her gun. Go to the side of the house, it's under by the bush or underneath the air conditioner. Go get my gun. Now she's going to tell her second story. She tells that individual, Gavin shot Destiny. It's changing. It's evolving. You're going to hear, once she arrives at UT Hospital, her deception doesn't just continue, it intensifies. You're going to hear that when she goes there, she goes into the bathroom, and she's going to stand outside the stall with another female who's there. That mother, that she's standing outside the stall, she's there at the hospital because her son had been hurt. She's standing outside the stall. And when she gets outside the stall, take my phone, take my phone. Take my phone. She wants to get rid of her phone. Robin Hamilton wants to get rid of that phone. But this individual won't get to do that for her and notifies the police officers because they're at the hospital. They get that phone. When they get the phone, it's wet. It's been broken. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to destroy everything on that phone. We were able to get those text messages. We know what she was texting. We know what she wanted to cover up. And unfortunately, that 5-year-old little girl that you saw just a couple minutes ago, Destiny, is pronounced dead at UT Hospital. Next, you're going to hear that this is a homicide investigation. This is serious. At this point, Detective Riddle has a report that an unknown black man walked in 502 Boston and top Destiny and killed a little 5-year-old girl, just like that. They want to get as much information as they can. So they want to interview the defendant. What did she tell them about this? Because they want answers. I mean, a 5-year-old girl has been shot and killed. So she's transported to the Knoxville Police Department where you're going to see that Detectives Riddle and Barbara speak with her. And her initial story with them that night, she initially was going to stick with the random black guy. Just a random black guy walks in off the street and shoots Destiny. That's what she sticks with at first. But it's not holding up. It's not holding up. The story doesn't make any sense. So she switches. She's going to tell another story now. See if this one sticks. Next, she's going to blame the little girl's dad. She says that Destiny's father walked in off the street and shot her. Deception, lies, deceit. Over and over and over. But that's not the end. When that lie doesn't stick, she tells another one. This time she's going to blame 2-year-old little Gavin. 2-year-old little Gavin. This time she says, me and Destiny's father got in a tussle. And then 2-year-old Gavin grabs a bar stool from the living room. 2-year-old Gavin grabs a bar stool from the living room all the way back into the bedroom, climbs up it. At least one time when she says he's doing it, he's wearing her high heels. Climbs up on top of that stool, gets into the top of the closet, gets her gun out, comes back into the living room, and accidentally shoots Destiny. Well, that story doesn't make sense. Because when that little boy's measured, well, Gavin, he's even outstretched, he's short. Couldn't have gotten up in that top of the closet. He's short. She even tosses out that evening that maybe some Mexican men from the park followed home, and maybe has something to do with it. But I don't even go anywhere with law enforcement. She is tossing everything she can out there, blaming everybody she can. So law enforcement will talk to her again on September the 17th. She tells more stories. One of the versions of stories that she's going to tell on that day is that it's just her, Gavin, and Destiny at home, and Gavin just went and got the gun and came back in and accidentally shot Destiny. Then she's going to tell another story. She's going to say, well, me and Destiny's father, Antoine, were in a tussle, we're fighting over a gun, and it goes off. It doesn't add up. doesn't add up with the evidence, doesn't add up with the physical evidence, and it certainly doesn't add up with that video. The times don't match. Think about that. We'll get him. So, Hamilton tries to hide the truth with her lies and deception throughout this matter. Lies, deception, deceit. Eventually, those lies wither away because they can't hold up, and the truth surfaces. What is the truth? It's not a gun, it's her gun. It's her gun that's used to shoot and kill Destiny. It's the defendant who hides the gun under a bush outside the house. It's the defendant who texts people and tells them to go get the gun outside the house. It's the defendant who then tries to get rid of those text messages, telling people to go get the gun, her gun, that was used to kill Destiny. The evidence will also show that both of them have what's called gunshot residue, meaning they're in close proximity to a gunshot when it's fired or handled a gun. Evidence will also show that Destiny had stippling on her hand. You're going to hear testimony from the medical examiner. That means the gun, when it is shot, no more than a few feet away from Destiny. No more than a few feet away from that 5-year-old little girl when she's shot. The one thing to remember as we sit through this case, you're going to hear testimony, you're going to see exhibits, you're going to see videos. And some of it's not going to be easy to watch, easy to see. There's one thing to listen to. Throughout all of the defendant's inconsistencies throughout this entire case, there's one consistency. There's one consistency. Not once does she take responsibility for anything. Not one time does she take responsibility for her destiny. Get shot, killed. Ladies and gentlemen, that tells you everything you need to know. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen?
Thank you. Judge told you that opening statements are not evidence. And I'll tell you one thing you can do. You can hold us to those statements. If you recall on voir dire, they stood up there and said, well, nobody's going to try to tell you that Miss Howington intended to shoot her daughter. That sure sounds like what he was saying at the end. Her gun. She had the gun. All these lies, all these inconsistencies. I want you to pay attention to that stuff. Because we've talked already, and you will hear again, that she was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder for about 18 months, medically treated. And the police go through her purse at the end of the interview and ask her what every one of them's for, and that's what they were. She tells them that she's been raped and she's nervous speaking in a room with 2 male police officers. There's a female police officer right out in the hallway. They don't offer to bring a female in. The 2 of them sit there and talk to her, and when she says she's been raped, Mr. Riddle there loses his mind. He jumps up and starts yelling and screaming, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's what you're concerned about? Your daughter's dead." Now, how do you think that helps with PTSD? This is the interview room that we're in. About an hour into it when they're talking to her, they keep telling her, she blamed it on the baby's daddy. You're gonna hear by the end of this, the first person in that interview room who mentions the baby daddy is his partner, Mr. Wardwell. What about him? He can't be happy that you got this baby, you're not in a relationship with him, but you got this other boyfriend. And then they start talking about all the kinds of problems they've been through. And they start talking about, yeah, we kind of think this might be a domestic. And then Mr. Wardlaw says, I tell you what, I'm going to shoot straight with him. I believe the baby daddy did. I think he was mad because you got another boyfriend now. I think he came in, he just shot that daughter, your daughter. He might have just been trying to scare you. Riddle there says, Mr. Hammer says, I think he's right. He hit it right on the nail. He did it. We've known this was domestic all along. They asked her, do you think he's capable of doing that? It wasn't him, I promise. And they stay on him. It's him, it's him, it's him. And she finally says, all right, you're right. Okay, you're right. Okay. I can't do this anymore. She didn't lie about him and say he did it. They did. She heard one gunshot. Tells them over and over again. I heard one gunshot. Well, we think she shot more than once. So they're telling her lies that she knows aren't true. She's a woman suffering from PTSD whose daughter has just been shot. They don't allow her to ride in an ambulance with the daughter. They take her to the hospital. She never sees her daughter again because the daughter is getting treatment. Truth of the matter is, and I think they'll probably tell us this, the daughter was probably dead in the ambulance. They tried to revive her. They had no luck. They got her to the hospital. They tried a couple more times. They had no luck. They come out and tell them, I'm sorry, your daughter's dead. She goes straight from that room being told, your daughter is dead. They drive her to the KPD interview room at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. She's there for the next 3 or 4 hours being questioned by these guys. For a mother, how is a mother going to be in her right mind to talk about the Lord at that point? So she's not in her right mind, and they're asking her questions, and they're telling her things that aren't true. We think you moved the shell casing. There should be a shell casing in that house. You're going to hear the shell casing was in the gun and jammed. They found the shell casing. It was there. We think, but we don't know if it even happened there. There should be a bullet there. There's no bullet. It's not in the couch. It's not in her. It was in a cushion on the couch. But they're just telling her stuff because they can't wait. They can't give this grieving mother till the next day to talk. No. We got to do this right now. At 3 o'clock in the morning, we're going to have you sit in an interview room with 2 male police officers. And if you mention the fact that a police officer raped you, we're going to yell and scream at you, sir. That's going to help. So the woman who is not in her right mind is taken in there and held for 3 to 4 hours being questioned by professional murder investigators, which means it can't be an accident because professional murder investigators are handling it. There is no way, there is no fact, there is no set of facts that's going to allow them to accept that this is an accident. They've taken a family tragedy, a horrible tragedy. She's very upset seeing Gavin up there on the wall. She has not laid eyes on him in 5 years because DCS and the court wouldn't let her until this case was resolved. He disappeared in the night that night. They've got her, taking her to the hospital. They take Gavin somewhere to a family neighborhood to stay. Her daughter's gone. Her mother's died during the pendency of this case. She hadn't seen Gavin since it happened because they have never seen an accident. They have never seen an accident, a tragedy that they can't make worse. Think about that for a moment. She is charged with felony murder. That is first-degree murder. Under state law, that's about the worst charge you can be charged with because of an accidental shooting involving a 2.5-year-old. So you listen carefully. They just stood here and told you. You know about contradiction. She's texting this Joey kid who sometimes painted her house, does some yard work. She's texting him right after it happens and says, will you go get that gun? Gavin shot Destiny. Immediately, she tells him, Gavin shot Destiny. She tells them, as they eventually get around to it, she made up the other story to protect Gavin so he wouldn't have to live with this. Once she has done that, she's sticking with that story. Is that the best idea at the moment? Maybe not. But again, she is a grieving mother who cannot be in her right mind. She is suffering from mental illness from this PTSD. She's treated for it. A gun goes off. Her daughter is grievously shot. When they talk to her on 911, they say, is she responding? No. Blood is pouring out of her chest, she tells her. She's not responding. She still has a 2.5-year-old child running around in the living room, crying and screaming and not in his right mind, probably at that point. And there's a gun on the floor. She takes the gun out, she puts it in the driveway. You saw that photograph of Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. She hid that gun under that bush. When you see the photographs they took that night, when you go around that corner, it's pitch black leading up to that bush. Drops the gun on the ground. She wants the gun out of the house. Why is her daughter dead? Because of the gun. That is the enemy at the moment. Get it out of the house. So she takes it out there and drops it. Some of the things that she did, some of the things she said don't make sense. They're irrational. Sort of like what someone might say if they're not in their right mind. And I told you I wouldn't ask you to do this, but you're going to have to at some point ask yourself, if you were in her position, would you be making rational decisions in that moment? Would you be held to the highest charge in the land, being in that condition at that moment? Should you be? Have we got no compassion for a grieving mother in an accidental shooting that destroyed a family? God, let's hope so.
All right, thank you. State has the burden of proof. We will hear the state's evidence first. General, call your first witness.
State calls Michael Days.
And you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have a seat.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Michael Allen Mays.
And can you spell your first and last name for our court reporter?
It's Michael Mays.
And Mr. Mays, where are you currently employed?
I work for the Knox County Emergency Communications District 911.
All right. And can you tell the jury a little bit about what your role is with 911?
I'm the custodian of records. I keep all the audio files and all the computer files that we have that come into the system.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury a little bit when someone makes a 911 call, is that call recorded in some way?
Yes. As soon as it comes into the 911 center, whether it's non-emergency or the 911, it is recorded. That information is taken by a call processor who takes the information from the caller and then sends it over to dispatch to be dispatched to units in the field.
And then that phone call that is made, is a recording also made of that phone call as it's being made?
Yes.
And is that phone call that's made, is that preserved in some way by the 911 center?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about that?
We have servers through our the system that we maintain the recorder through, and so we hold those recordings for a little over 4 years.
For a little over 4 years?
Yes.
All right. So are you familiar with a 911 call that was placed on September 14th of 2019 that's pertinent to the case before this court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an opportunity to review the CD that I have right here?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury, do you recognize this CD?
Yes, that's the CD. I marked it that I went over it and reviewed it today,
Okay.
that is from our system.
And so is that going to be the CD of the 911 call that's made from Balsam Drive on September 14th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, if we could move this in as the first exhibit and
That
post
be
it to the
marked in
jury.
files number 1. Are you introducing the CAD or just the CD? All right, let the CD be number 1.
Mr. Mason, when a 911 call recording is preserved, is there a tag or something that indicates the time the call was made or anything like that that happens on the CD as part of your record?
Yes.
Judge, for what it's worth, we're not contesting the authenticity of the 911 call.
But you're not introducing the CAD.
I'm not at this point, Your Honor,
Okay, go ahead.
no. And so is there a little bit of information that starts before you can hear the call?
Yes, it's the timestamp of the call.
Okay. And so in this particular case, was there a timestamp?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and I'm going to play it, and if you can explain to the jury when you hear this, what the timestamp is.
On Saturday, September 14, 2019, at 8:53 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 240 minutes, agent ID is extension is 202.
If you explain to the jury what that means.
Okay, that's the time and the date that the call came in to the 911 center. The actual phone call came into the 911 center.
And was the time 8:53 p.m.?
Yes.
And would that be an accurate time as to when this phone call was made?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to publish the call in its entirety.
On Saturday, September 14, 2019,
Is this a transcript of the call?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, a transcript is being passed out to aid you as you listen to this 911 call. The transcript is merely an aid. The evidence is the call that you actually hear, so if there is a discrepancy between the transcript and what you hear on this recording, the recording controls. Does everybody understand that?
Your Honor, for the record, can we make the transcript?
Mark the transcript for ID only, it's number 2.
at 8:53 p.m., with a GMT offset of negative 240 minutes, agent ID is extension is 202.
I'm on an emergency. This dude was just at my house, and my fucking daughter just got shot, man. Please hurry. I'm gonna follow this awesome drive.
Right, she just outside right now.
Yes.
Who did it? The guy that's walking to your door?
Yes.
Okay, what's your name, man?
Robin.
Robin. Okay, where's your daughter at, man?
She's on the couch.
Where did he shoot her at, man? Okay. We're on our way. I've already sent it to Robin. We're on our way now. She's laying on the
Oh
couch.
my God. What do I need to do? What do I need to do?
Let's come in, Miss Robin. Let you speak with the ambulance, sir. The guy who did that, the white black first family.
He's black.
Okay. What was he wearing?
He got a black shirt on.
Okay. Did he say anything when you guys opened the door?
No.
Okay. He just
My
opened.
baby's just laying here. Oh my God. Please come down. Please come
We're
down.
on our way, Miss Robin. Let me speak to the ambulance so they can tell you what to do. Try to get us some help. Oh, 1 minute for it.
Oh my God. Yes.
We're on our way. We're in a car.
a severe emergency. Stop, do Boston job. Okay, telephone number 951-8096. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I already have an ambulance on the way there. Tell me exactly what's going on. I had a man that just came to the fucking door, man, and he fucking, I don't know what the hell happened. The door was unlocked, and he came in here, and he fucking shot my daughter, dude, and she's laying here, and she's not fucking breathing, dude, please come. She's not breathing? No. Okay, do you want to try to do CPR? Please just come on, just to turn the light and everything. She is breathing, she is breathing. She is breathing? Yes. Okay, how old is she? She's 5. How old? 5. 5? Yes. Okay. All right, I've got help on the way. They've been on the way since your very first call, okay? Is that how you're crying? No, that's my son. That's your son. Okay. Yes. Okay. They're coming to you as fast as they can, I promise. Okay, you said she is breathing. Is she able to speak to you at all? Is she conscious at all? No. Destiny. Oh my God, I can't believe this shit. Okay, and you have no idea who it was that shot her? No, I didn't know. My God, okay. They're here. They're here now. Okay, all right, go talk to them. Okay, bye-bye.
Can you explain to the jury what a CAD is?
That's the name of our computer system. It stands for Computer Aided Dispatch.
Okay, and tell the jury what is the purpose of a computer animated dispatch?
The computer basically takes the call of service and the information that we put into it, sends it to the agencies that are going to be responding. In this case, it was law enforcement, medical, ambulance, and fire for first responder. They all get the information that's put into it by all the agencies that enter information into it, and then we can at any time export that.
Okay, and so when an officer is out on patrol, some of them have computers in their car, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so as somebody is relaying information to 911, is 911 also in contact with getting that information into the computers that the police officers have?
Yes, we send it to their computer, and we also do a verbal announcement.
So let me ask you, do you recognize this document?
Yeah, this is the CAD of the incident in question.
I don't know if we could make this Exhibit 2 or Exhibit 3.
Do you mind?
Okay, and so just so that it's clear for the jury when they get this document, up at the top it's got an event date and an event time. Is that indicative of the date and time of the call that we just heard?
Yes, that's the time that the call processor started entering the stuff into the CAD.
Okay, and it's got a caller name as Robin. Is that information that the 911 caller would have received from the caller?
Yes,
Okay, and then it has the address there as well. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, and then there is a part that says remarks with a bunch of information under that. Is that correct?
Yes,
And would that be just what the operator is typing into the system as she's hearing the 911 call?
yes. Anytime a call processor or dispatcher enters information, it is put in there in the remarks.
Okay, and then whenever you get a little bit further down, it looks like, is this a different call that came in that day?
You talking about right here?
I'm talking about this stuff right here.
Yes, that is a duplicate call.
That's a different call that's happening?
Yes.
Okay. If we could publish this to the jury, Your Honor. Pass it on.
Any questions?
Just briefly, you don't have that CAD report up there in front of you, do you?
No.
That the time on there, if I tell you it was 20:53:54,
Yes.
does that sound right to you?
Yes. That
Okay.
did sound right, yes.
Didn't expect to see you today. I think you'd be here, but I understand you're traveling. Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further? You may step down, Mr. Mays. Thank you for
Your
being
Honor.
here. Call your next witness. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Have a seat, please. Adjust the microphone if you need to so that you can speak directly into it.
Good afternoon, officer. Could you state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Officer Andrell Cummings, Andrell Cummings, Cummings.
And where are you employed currently?
With Knoxville Police Department.
How long have you been employed there?
It was 7 years last month.
And what's your position at the Knoxville Police Department?
Right now I'm assigned to West Alpha Patrol.
Okay. What does patrol do?
Patrol mainly answers calls for service. We do answer car wrecks, anything. Anytime somebody calls 911 and an officer is needed out, regular patrol would come out. And then we would deem if anybody else needs to come out, any special teams, search and rescue, detectives, or anything like that.
Prior to being an officer of the Knoxville Police Department, where were you employed?
I was employed with the Rural Metro Fire Department for about 12 years.
Can you walk me through some of the training you've received to be a Rural Metro Fire Department?
I don't know exactly how long our fire training was, but we say somewhere between 5 and 6 months. And then shortly after that, I got my EMT IV license through the state of Tennessee.
So you are trained in, attending to people who have been injured?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Rural Metro, they took. I always tell everybody there's different type of calls: priority 1s, priority 2s, and priority 3s. Rural Metro Fire, the services Knox County, we took everything. So if you were having trouble breathing or somebody was seriously injured in a car wreck, we would come. And then also, if lack of a better term, if grandma or grandpa fell on the floor, then we would be there for a lift assist.
Officer Cummings, can you speak up, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Speak up.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
I want to direct your attention to September the 14th, 2019. Did you have an occasion to respond to a 502 Balsam?
Yes, sir, I did.
And is that in Knox County?
It's Knoxville, Knox County. Yes, sir.
Tell me about that call.
Again, at the time, I was assigned to routine patrol in the North Knoxville area. We got a call I was dispatched to a call of shots fired into a residence. I wasn't there. I wasn't really that far away. I was on Broadway, just north of Cedar Avenue.
How long did it take you to get to that address?
If I had to guess, I don't know off time, I'd probably say a minute to maybe 2.5 minutes, maybe less.
When you arrive on scene, describe to the jury what it was like.
So pulled up on scene. I arrived very slowly to make sure, again, to see what I'm walking into. Again, shots fired. Didn't know if suspect was still on scene or anything like that. So arrived, pulled up slowly to the house, tried to get a good survey of the scene, see if I saw anybody, any suspects, any cars fleeing, somebody running. or anything. Initially, what I saw was a young male, young child, I should say, at the screen door of the home, and his hands were placed up against the glass, and he was just kind of smiling, looking at the lights. So, of course, I have my gun drawn, and I'm just trying to, again, protect myself, protect anybody else, because, again, I don't know what I'm walking into. So I get to the door, and I remember walking to the door. The young man took off into the home, started crying, and I see a young lady sitting on the couch inside the home. Would you like me to describe the home from what I remember?
Yeah, if you could.
So when you open the door, it was, I'm gonna call it maybe like a living room. I'll call it living room number 1. Very wide open space, saw a couch, TV. And then as you walked in a little bit further, there was, I think I remember that, a arch over walk through area, and it kind of went to what I call living room number 2. And in that living room number 2 is where I saw a young lady who we found to be my complainant, or our complainant, sitting. No problem. I saw a young lady who we found later to be our complainant sitting on the couch, and later noticed that it seemed that she was on her phone, or had her phone up to her ear. And I walked in. I think I maybe just kind of cracked the door, and I said, "Did you call 911?" And she was like, "Yeah," kind of waved me in. And I kind of walked in, and I go, "Is anybody hurt?" And she just kind of points to behind her. And that's when I saw So when I saw a foot of a young child just over the armrest of the couch. And at that point, I just holstered up, grabbed her, and ran outside. And as I'm walking outside, I am assessing her for injuries. I noticed a defect to her hand. I can't remember if I saw a defect to her arm, or I say a better choice of words is a hand wound or an arm wound. I know I saw a hand wound, and I can't remember if she had on a dress or a shirt, but I remember looking up under her shirt or whatever she had on, and I saw a chest wound. So at that time, I immediately got on the radio and told them and said, "Hey, we have a victim, and you just, go ahead and send everybody in." With that type of a call, KFD, or Knoxville Fire Department, is automatically dispatched along with EMS, or AMR, Rural Metro. I don't know. I went to the back of my car and just kind of, again, assessed her again, checked her all over so I could give a good report to the EMS and fire crew that was arriving.
Maybe we have the screen. And Officer Cummings, do you recognize that picture right there?
I do, sir.
Can you tell the jury what that is?
That would be the, I don't know the correct address, but that would be the house that I responded to that night.
Okay. And do you recognize this?
From that angle, it looks like it could be the couch that I saw our complainant sitting on, but I'm not really too sure because I'd have to. I don't remember going that far into the house and seeing it, but I think that is the couch.
Okay. Tell us about Miss Howington's demeanor when you encountered her.
One of the things I'll always remember that sticks with me is just how quiet it was. I've run thousands of calls with Rural Metro as an EMT and as a police officer here with Knoxville. I've seen some things and I've done some things. And I've run calls where everyday people who just witnessed something who are hysterical, rightfully so, I understand. But this particular scene, or upon my arrival, it was just very quiet. I didn't have anybody yelling. I didn't hear anybody screaming. I didn't have anybody, trying to grab me and, yank me in and point me out. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happened. This is what's hurt. It was just very, very quiet. Sometimes we joke and laugh and we say we always have a Richard Simmons on scene because there's always somebody doing the jumping jacks when you arrive somewhere. There was just nobody there. It was just so quiet is what really got me. And like I said, Miss Sound was just kind of sitting there on the phone, and I remember asking her, I said, hey, do you need somebody? Is there somebody we can call for you? And she was like, no, they're on the phone, they're on the way. They're just a little bit lost. And I said, oh, do you want me to ask? You want me to give them direction? She was like, no, they'll be fine. And I was just it was just very calm demeanor.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as number 4. Tell me if you recognize that individual.
I do.
Who is that individual?
This is a victim from that night. I don't know her last name, but I know her name was Destiny. But this is Destiny.
And that's the girl you encountered that evening?
Yes, sir.
You know how these marked and entered as 4?
That be marked and filed as number 4.
After you leave the house with Destiny, what do you do?
I went to the, like I said, I immediately got on a radio call for KFD and AMR, tell them that the scene was okay for them to enter. I put her on the back of my trunk, or the back of my car, back of my cruiser, and like I said, I'm just trying to assess her for injuries. So I can give a good report. Also, I'm checking for, again, what's called ABCs, airway, breathing, and circulation. I did not feel a pulse. She was not breathing. And so...
This is hard testimony, but if he could, I'm losing it.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah,
I apologize. Like I said, I assessed her again so I can give a good report to the EMS personnel that was arriving on the scene. And like I said, I checked for ABCs, airway, breathing, and circulation. She did not have a heartbeat, and she was not breathing at the time. I never touched it. I promise you, Your Honor, I never touched it. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Much better.
Sorry about that. I did. Don't tell my mom.
So, once EMTs come and they take Destiny, what do you do next?
If I remember correctly, kind of passed off some information to my supervisors and other officers who are remaining on scene, and we formulated a plan that we're going to go down, head, I think it would have been westbound on the road, and to see if we could locate any type of security camera footage. Would it be cameras on the home or any type of Ring doorbell cameras?
Were you able to find any?
We did locate. I remember. I remember 3. Two of the residents said that their ring doorbell cameras weren't working, but the next door neighbor's camera, he had a security camera over his door that faced the residence.
And did you, excuse me, did you review that footage?
We did. He was able to pull that footage up, and watching that footage, we saw, and I'm going to speak from the standpoint of as if the house is behind me. Looking at that footage, and again, the camera footage is coming, if the house is behind me, the camera is to the left of the residence. So at one point we saw a car pull in and basically park parallel to the road, almost, if you want to say, in the yard of that residence, with its back towards the camera. And then another vehicle pulled in parallel to the road, almost facing in front of the residence on the opposite side. So they're basically parked like this. Again, if my back's to the house, the 2 cars are parked like this. This car came in first, this car came in second. And it looked as if 2 individuals and like 2 kids went into the house. I'm not too sure how much time passes, but then you see an individual come out and get in vehicle number 1 and leave. I say a few seconds or so, I can't be sure of the exact time, a few seconds or so after that, you see somebody come out of the house, hop into vehicle number 2, move vehicle number 2 and put it in the spot where vehicle number 1 was parked. And then that person gets out of the car and goes back in the house. Sometime after that, again, I don't know exact time. I don't think it was very long. Somebody comes out of the house, and you can see that they came to, which again, the house is behind me. They come to the left side of the house, kind of like in the yard area, and then they go back in the house. And then sometime after that is when the 911 call was made.
Did you have an occasion to go look on the side of that house that night?
We did. So a couple of us got together and decided to go search that, again, we'll say the left side of that, the house and that yard. And there on that side, under a bush, we found a firearm.
Back in 2019, can you explain to me your setup in terms of whether or not you were having in-cruiser cameras or body cameras or both?
I know at that time I had not been issued I did not have a body cam. I don't know if we were transitioning, trying to get body cams, or if we were trying them out or not. But at that time, all I had was an in-car camera and what we call a belt mic. So you can hear what I'm saying, but you can't see exactly what's going on or what I'm talking, or you can't see what's going on with me or who I'm talking to or anything like that. But you can hear me talk as long as I am, we say, in line with the vehicle.
Was your in-cruiser video system operating that evening?
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity to review that footage?
I have.
Does it fairly and accurately reflect that evening?
Yes, sir.
Again, Judge, we're not contesting
Thank you.
Your Honor, we'd like to move in to clips from the cruiser camera and publish those to the jury. It is, Your Honor.
Was it Lisa 5? Yes, sir. Okay, number 5.
Officer Cummings, what are we looking at here?
I believe this is my in-car camera from that night. You're looking at, I believe it's going to be Balsam Drive, and I'm facing what would be westbound.
What did she say on that?
I believe we were trying to get a suspect vehicle description, and she told us it was a black Chrysler 300, dark tinted windows.
Man, is this your car? Okay, all right. Just one? Okay.
Again, are we still sitting in front of 502 or Balsam right there?
Yes, sir.
And what does she say on that video?
There, I was trying to ascertain how many shots that she may have heard that night. She tells me she only heard one shot.
And who is the female's voice we hear on that recording?
That would be Miss. She identified herself as Robin Howington that night, the mother of the victim.
You see Robin Howington in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you point her out and describe what she's wearing?
She's sitting at the defense table. I'm gonna say black jacket, pink top.
Your Honor, may the record reflect she's identified, or he's identified.
It shall.
That's the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Officer Cummings.
Afternoon, sir.
You okay up there?
I'm doing okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Let me ask you this. Before arriving at that house sometime around 8:56, I think, on the 14th of September 2019, how much did you know about Robin Howington?
I think I had one prior interactions with her. I do believe, if I'm correct, I believe it was one prior interaction.
And did you know that she was under doctor's care for PTSD?
No, sir. That was there was never an interaction I had with her that I would need to ask that information.
Okay. You've described that when you got there, she was very quiet.
Correct.
Would it surprise you to know that's something that folks who suffer from PTSD seek, is the quiet?
I would have to take your word for it. I really don't know,
But all you're saying is that you said you made thousands of calls, right?
correct.
And sometimes people are hysterical,
Correct.
and sometimes people are not.
That is correct.
And she fell in the spectrum of hysterical or not.
Are you asking me which one
Yeah.
she fell?
Right.
She fell into the spectrum of not.
And that's, in your experience, not out of the ordinary to find that some people are not hysterical.
Is it out of the ordinary? Have I had people who are hysterical and people who are not hysterical? Absolutely. If you're asking what I think that is, I won't say common. For me, I would say it's more abnormal.
Of course, you'd have to know something about that individual, wouldn't you? Like that she had PTSD. That might
I
make a
would.
difference.
I guess so. Yeah, I would say yeah. That probably add to it or give you more insight.
And I think I could say I would thank you on behalf of myself and Ms. Howington. I think you pulled a football out of your car and a stuffed animal and gave those to Gavin when you took him next door to the neighbor's house, right?
I did.
And when you were just talking with Mr. Ammons a moment ago, he asked you about what she said on that video. I think they're just loading up Destiny in the ambulance, and someone says to her, she's okay, let them do their job, right?
I don't know what. I did hear somebody say, just let them do their job. I think he said that's what they're trained to do. I have no clue if they're loading her up at that time or not. I can't really be sure.
And what she said next was, what about him, Gavin, right?
I heard her say, "What about him?" But I don't know. I don't know who she was referring to, whether it be Gavin or a suspect or anything.
Well, the suspect wasn't there, right? What was he?
I did not see a suspect at the time. No,
Gavin was there.
Gavin was there. That's correct.
And let me ask you if I got this right. You were asked about the video. You're talking about the video from the house immediately to the right of Miss Howington's house, right? If you're looking at the house.
If you're looking at the house, yes, it'd be the house to the right.
Okay, the one, and you've seen that video
Yes, sir.
with that stinking spider web that keeps bouncing around in front of the counter and the porch, right? Remember that?
I don't remember a spider web.
You say that when you see the car pull up and you see 2 adults and 2 children go into the house.
I said it appeared to me like 2 adults and 2 children do go into the home. Yes.
And if I tell you that's probably just a little wrong, would that surprise you?
Yes, it would surprise me.
It would surprise you that there were not 2 adults and 2 kids coming in out of the car.
I'd be very surprised by that.
And how many times have you watched that video since September 14th of 2019?
I couldn't tell you.
When was the last time you looked at it?
I could not tell you exactly when.
Not in preparation for trial, you didn't look at it?
No. That was, I would pretty much say that that night's pretty etched in my mind.
Etched in your mind.
Correct.
But you would agree that it's possible for you to make mistakes, right?
Anything's possible, yes.
5 years later, it'd be even easier to make a mistake about what you saw in a very short video on a dark night from a Ring camera.
I would say on a night to where I carry a lifeless 5-year-old, it's pretty hard to not remember a lot of things.
Well, let me ask you this. I want to go back to when you first get there, you say you walk in and you're in a first living room.
That's what I call it.
And then there's another living room, another room with a couple of couches. The first one's got a couple of couches.
I believe so, yes.
And you walk back there and you see Miss Howington sitting with Destiny.
Correct.
And you see Destiny's condition and you pick her up and head out the door.
That is correct.
And you said you checked the ABCs and she had no heartbeat and no breathing.
That is correct.
And as another old emergency medical guy, can't stay alive if you got no heartbeat and no breathing, can you?
That is correct.
You're probably not alive if you got no heartbeat and no breathing.
I believe they would consider you clinically dead.
There was nothing else she could do for her daughter at that moment, was there? Nothing you could do.
Are you asking me, is there anything I could do or what?
Well, let's break it down. Bad question, I'm sorry.
No problem.
There's certainly nothing she could have done at that point with a child with no heartbeat and no breathing.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
What would you have had her do with that child with no heartbeat and no breathing?
At least CPR.
Do you know if she ever had any training in CPR?
I have no idea.
Do you know, you had lots of training in CPR, right?
I have, sir.
I have too. You can hurt somebody with CPR, can't you, if you don't know what you're doing?
This is true, yes, sir.
And if you don't do it right, it's pretty meaningless.
This is true, correct?
So, what did you do to save Destiny's life that night?
Like I said, I assessed her for injuries, make sure that I could give a clear and accurate report to what I saw and what I observed. And like I said, at the time it took me to observe her and check her for injuries, EMS was already on scene and I passed her off.
You didn't do any CPR on her or anything?
No, sir, because again, like I said, at the time, by the time I realized that she was lifeless, EMS was already on scene and I had passed her off.
And at that point, how long do you think you'd been on the scene?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you an exact time.
A couple of minutes?
Again, I couldn't give you an exact time.
You arrived a couple of minutes after she made the 911 call. You said a minute to 2.5.
I believe so, yes, sir.
And you were a trained EMT.
Correct.
You don't think she was, do you?
I have no idea. I never asked.
If I tell you she's not, would that surprise you?
No, I'm not. Sorry. No, I don't. No. Again, like I said, that was any interaction I ever had with Ms. Howington. That was never something I needed to ask her.
And it's not like everybody you run into is a trained EMT either, is it?
That is true.
Right. Thank you, officer. No further questions.
Yes, sir.
You may step down, Officer Cummings. Thank you. Call your next witness.
State House Preston Tucker.
Clarify that last exhibit. Just pieces of the KPD video, not a KPD video.
Represented being the cruiser video of Officer Cummings. If there's more on there or not. Raise your right hand, please, sir, and be sworn. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
Have a seat, please. Adjust the microphone so that you can speak comfortably into it.
State and spell your name, please.
Preston Tucker, Preston. My last name is Tucker.
And where are you employed?
The Tennessee Highway Patrol.
And prior to that, where were you employed?
The City of Knoxville Police Department.
What'd you do for the KPD?
I was a patrol officer, and I worked primarily in the North Knoxville area.
So what do you do on patrol?
You answer calls for service from citizens, be a wide variety of issues, civil disturbances, traffic crashes, or more felonious incidents such as shootings.
Were you still employed on September the 14th, 2019?
I was.
Did you have an occasion to respond to a call to a 502 Balsam?
I did.
Is that in Knox County?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me about how you came to respond to that address?
We received a call for service regarding a shooting. I believe it was a shooting with a victim. And when you receive a call like that, typically every available unit will go to try to render aid and secure the crime scene.
Okay. Can you tell me about your involvement that evening at this crime scene?
I was nowhere near being the first unit there. However, when I responded, my main objective was to create a crime scene log. I was quickly relieved of that duty by a supervisor and instructed to take the defendant to the hospital to speak with the doctor regarding the injuries of her, of her daughter, the victim.
So you transported her from the scene to UT Medical Center?
Correct.
And tell me about, in 2019, were you equipped with an in-cruiser camera or body camera or both?
Considered to today's time, the technology then was very archaic. The cruiser was equipped with a front-facing dash camera, and the audio for that front-facing dash camera was through a microphone attached to our belt. The rear passenger area / cage where you put a prisoner or a passenger had a microphone only to record audio.
So once you transported the defendant to UT Medical Center, or do you see that individual in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you point around and describe what she's wearing?
She's seated at the defendant's table wearing a black jacket and a pink colored shirt.
Okay. You already made the record before.
Sure.
So why do you transport someone like that in the back of your cruiser to the hospital?
I'm sorry, asking why we would
Yeah,
do
why
that?
would you do that?
As like opposed to the front seat.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, it's just out of convenience. We normally have quite a bit of equipment in our front seat. It's just easy to, as opposed to having to clear out the front seat, it's more efficient and quick to just put them in the back.
Okay. So you transport Ms. Howington to UT Medical Center.
Yes, sir.
What happens next?
On the way there, I'm sorry, like once we arrive at the hospital,
Once you arrive at the hospital.
we enter the hospital. I remember at the time Investigator Wardlaw was there. I think he spoke to the defendant, but mainly we were just waiting for the doctor to come into the ER waiting room area to receive an update.
Okay. Did you receive any information from a citizen about Ms. Howington's behavior in the bathroom?
I did.
Can you tell me what that was?
As I was waiting for the doctor to come into the emergency room waiting area, I was alerted.
Judge, may we approach?
Ladies and gentlemen, there's an issue that I need to take up in your absence. I don't think that will take us very long, but given the fact that it's 5 o'clock, the lawyers have graciously agreed to quit working you for today. We're not going to finish this case up today. All of you know that. It's going to take us several days to try it. We've had a long day of jury selection, so we're going to break for the evening. I need to give you a few instructions before we break, though. As I told you earlier, this is not a sequestered jury, so you're on the honor system. Do not attempt to learn anything at all about this case from any independent source, including but not limited to the internet. You have seen television cameras around. You have seen reporters around. There will be media reports about this case tonight. You are instructed and ordered that you cannot read those media reports. So if you go on to wherever you get your local news, be it the local news station, Knox News, wherever you get it. If you click on that news source and there's something about this case, click away, turn the channel, don't watch it. Do not attempt to read anything at all about this if you get the News Sentinel tomorrow, although I think it would be somewhat of a miracle if there was something about this case in the News Sentinel tomorrow. But don't read anything at all about the case. Don't attempt to learn anything at all about the case. If anyone attempts to speak with you about this case, give them the benefit of the doubt. Say, I am a juror, I cannot speak to you about this case. If they persist, you let one of my bailiffs know and I will deal with that person. Finally, you are forbidden to speak to anyone at all about the case. And for at least half of you, that means your significant other tonight is going to ask you, where have you been all day? What's that case that you're spending all day on, all week on downtown at the City County building? Make me the bad guy, okay? Tell them that the judge said, I can't talk about it because you can't. And here's the reason why. Your spouse or significant other might very innocently do one of the things I just instructed that you can't do. And let's not take the risk that that person, that your spouse might impart some knowledge to you that he or she had learned from some outside source. I need all of you to be in a position to judge this case based only on what you have heard in this courtroom and no place else. Tomorrow morning, I have a very limited docket. We've tried to keep it light so that we can start this case back pretty quickly. Is there anyone, I'm trying to determine what time I want to get you all back into the jury room tomorrow morning. I want you to report directly to the jury room. Don't come to the courtroom. Mr. Morgan will show you where to report, but go directly to the jury room tomorrow morning. Does anyone, I cheated and told you earlier that I'm lazy. I like to early vote. I don't ever wait until the day of election, but does anyone need to go vote tomorrow morning before they come to court? All right. If I have you here by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, does that give you all time to go vote before you show up? Great. All right, report directly to the jury room. Be here not later than 10 o'clock. I can't start until I have all 14 of you here. Have a very good evening, and we will see you in the morning. All rise for the jury. Your notebook with you. You're in the jury room. Everyone may have a seat. Approach the bench one more time before we take up the rest of Trooper Tucker's testimony.
someone contacts you about Robin Howington and that cell phone, can you tell the judge about that interaction, how you came to be involved with that cell phone?
I had a female citizen approach me while in the, I had a male citizen approach me while in the waiting room, and he alerted me to the fact that Ms. Howington had attempted to, in some way, give his wife her cell phone. It was a very brief conversation with him. I wanted to immediately get to Ms. Howington in the women's restroom and try to obtain this phone. There was a little delay because I was just, to be candid, didn't want to barge into the women's restroom. So I tried to get a nurse, and it was kind of like playing the telephone game. Like, I need you to try to find this woman that looks like this and ask her about her phone. So eventually I kind of put half my body in and make eye contact with her, and I believe I said something to the effect of, I need your phone or give me your phone. I was able to obtain her phone after requesting.
Went into the women's restroom?
Yes, sir.
And when you entered the women's restroom, was there anyone there besides Ms. Howington?
Your Honor, I cannot recall if there were others there or not.
Where was she and where were you?
I believe, I don't know when I was actually communicating with her. She was like outside of the stall. I can't remember if she emerged from the stall, but she was standing just in the, kind of in front of the sink area when I was communicating with her.
Tell me about the first thing that you remember asking her and the first thing that she responded and said to you.
Your Honor, just due to the time that's passed, all I can remember is I demanded her phone, and she relinquished it in some capacity.
Okay, so she had the phone in her hand. You didn't have to retrieve it from...
I don't believe it was laying on the counter or laying somewhere else. I believe it was in her hand and she handed it to me, but again, the time has passed. I don't want to swear, not 100% on that.
Tell me about the phone's condition when it was handed to you.
I know it was off personally because I know Detective Wardlaw at the time made a comment that it was turned off and it couldn't be turned on. And through rewatching my body camera footage, I made a comment when I was talking to detectives on the radio that it was off. So I know it was in an off condition, not powered on.
All right, and what other conversations, if any, did you have with Ms. Howington about that phone or any other topic?
We did not speak much about the phone. Once I had it in my possession, it more transitioned into waiting on the doctor, and then the doctor came, and then we discovered the condition of the deceased. And
that was all once you were back out in the waiting area, correct?
Correct. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that the time elapsed in the restroom was very minimal.
Right.
And the conversation concerning the phone was ideally minimal, or identically minimal. It was just brief.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any questions you want to ask him, the jury out?
I just want to ask this, Trooper. Have you reviewed your audio lately?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. And is that conversation, I know the conversation with both the male and the female is picked up on your mic. Is the conversation you have with Ms. Howington in the bathroom picked up on the mic?
I remember I just watched it just before we came in here, just vividly. It was, I said, hey, I need your phone. I can hear myself saying that. And then she makes some sort of just, Y or O, just a quick response. And then I very quickly obtained that phone. So there wasn't much of a conversation.
Okay. So that was the end of the conversation you had with her about the phone.
Essentially, the majority of my conversation concerning the phone is talking to detectives on the radio about it.
And is that discussion captured on your in-car video?
It's pretty clear, yes, sir.
Nothing further.
All right. Is there anything objectionable about this?
About what he's just testified to, no. I think it was getting ready to go to a different place. There on the recording, there is something at which the woman is explaining why she was offered the phone, and that it had
The woman being Ms. Howington or the witness?
The citizen who's reporting this incident makes a statement which is, I think, not admissible through this witness.
All right. Well, as far as that statement, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll have to address that when, I don't know what the witness's name is, when she is prepared to testify, but for this witness, for Trooper Tucker, I don't see anything that's a problem here.
I think he was getting ready to say that, though. That's why it seemed to me that's where that was going.
Your Honor, we anticipate Ms. Sands is going to be here tomorrow. Do you want us to have her here early to have a jury out hearing, or what is?
I mean, we could, what do you anticipate, Trooper, you can step down, thank you.
Is he allowed to go home?
He's free to go.
You're going to be here tomorrow at 9.
But be here, you're the witness on the stand, so I need you here, ready to climb back up on the stand, be here by 9:45, and hopefully we're going to be starting 10:15 or so tomorrow morning.
No problem.
All right, I'll see you in the morning.
Yes, sir.
I can't decide this without hearing her testimony, but can you have her here around 9:30 tomorrow morning?
Victim witness coordinator just stepped out with that last witness. Let me ask her.
Okay. Have her here at 9:45. I don't have much of a docket tomorrow, so hopefully I can blow through that pretty quickly and we can address this issue as soon as she gets here. Have any of you given thought to jury instructions on possible lessers? And obviously I'm not going to make the final decision until we hear all of the evidence in the case, but what is the state seeing as lesser included offenses of the principal count felony murder?
I think at this point, I think certainly reckless homicide and criminal negligence.
I think that's a given. Those would be instructed. I don't see how voluntary manslaughter would be instructed. And I guess the real question I have, I don't see how second degree would be instructed either, but I'll listen to further argument on that. Anyway, give it some thought and we will address that when the time is appropriate. Is there anything else we need to take up this evening? On behalf of the state?
Your Honor, we still haven't received any information from the defense about anything else that they want redacted, so at this point, I assume that they don't want anything else redacted from the defendant's statement.
Anything else, Mr. Whalen?
No.
All right, everybody have a good evening. Be back here, ready to go to work not later than 9:30 tomorrow morning. Ms. Howington, I need you here not later than 9:30 so that we can take up the out of jury issues before we bring the jury back in, hopefully around 10:15 or so. All right, court will stand adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Everybody have a good evening.